Great, I think we're going to get started. Some other people are coming in. All right, if you missed the jokes, you can talk to Seth after we're done. Good morning. I'm Alicia Sullivan. This is my co-presenter, Seth. We are from the Richmond VA Medical Center, the Assistive Technology Program. And today we are presenting assistive technology, an interdisciplinary approach in assessment and treatment of adult veterans with neurological disorders. So as I said, I'm Alicia. I've been with the VA for over 24 years. I started out in geriatrics, long-term care, short-term rehab, hospice, and palliative care. Then I transitioned to polytrauma for about 7 years. And in 2009, when we started our assistive technology program, I hopped on board. So we also have another presenter that couldn't be with us today, Brittany Reed. She's our speech pathologist. She has 3 children under the age of 5 and is now expecting her 4th. So she was not able to be with us, but she was a huge part of this presentation. So
we gave her a pass on being here today.
Yeah.
So my name is Seth Hills. I started at the VA in Richmond back in 2016. And prior to that, my education was in mechanical engineering and bioengineering. I also practiced as a prosthetics practitioner, prosthetics and orthotics for about 7 years before transitioning back to more of a engineering slash clinical role. So this was like a great combination for me. I'm currently a clinical rehabilitation engineer, and I have a perfect balance of design and patient care, and I love it. So excited to be here.
So our disclosure side, disclaimer, basically we're just VA employees. We get our salary from the VA. We don't necessarily aren't financially getting paid for any of the devices or anything that we are talking about today. And this particular presentation reflects our views, not necessarily that of the VA or the government. All right, so objectives. Hopefully today we're able to provide you guys valuable information to establish an interdisciplinary team or tools that can make your team more effective and efficient to maximize your patient or client's goals and functional abilities. So technology. So if we look around the room, technology is everywhere. I would venture to guess that 98 to 100% of us have cell phones. People are using iPads or tablets, computers. There's wheel mobility, powered wheel mobility, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, and artificial intelligence. So with the rapid increase of technology, there are several areas of technology that you may have heard of. However, it's important to understand the differences in information. Information technology, or IT, is used to enhance information, access, and communication. When we think of IT, we think of like our department and specifically how they assist our jobs in connecting to different tools like email, cybersecurity, managing different networks. But IT typically supports businesses, healthcare, and education. So another buzzword that you hear a lot about now, really a lot in the past 8 weeks, artificial intelligence, or AI, has become the buzzword and is utilized for many, even though it's been utilized for many years. It's the machine equivalent to the superbrain to replace human intelligence and in devices. The one most likely familiar to us is Alexa or Google Assist, Siri. Other examples could be speech recognition software, virtual assistants, chat, GPT. AI can also be used automation, assist with decision making, and includes machine learning and robotics.
So you said replace. I think the AI overlords appreciate that terminology, but the real intent is replication.
Gotcha. So what is assistive technology? So the formal or legal definition originated in Technology-Related Assistance for Individuals with Disabilities Act, or the TECT Act, from 1988. This act defined assistive technology as an item, piece of equipment, or product system, whether acquired commercially off the shelf, modified or customized for the user to increase, maintain, improve functional capabilities of individuals with disabilities. So the act was actually refined and has evolved over time, reflecting the advancements in technology. So the new definition, and I'll read: assistive technology are tools and technologies that can be utilized to help people with disabilities or impairments regain their independence, mobility, or communication skills. AT covers a wide range from prosthetics to communication software. It can also include mobility aids such as wheelchairs, communication tools, speech generating devices, and smart rehabilitation systems that can be simple smart home tools for home automation.
So I'm going to go through a bit of a history. This is by no means comprehensive of assistive technology. This is just a few representations of the evolution. So yesterday we had the privilege of going to the Human Engineering Research Lab, and they actually had one of these really old wooden chairs there. I'm pretty sure they don't use it anymore, but it was pretty cool to see one in person. And that's kind of like what wheelchairs looked like, I don't know how many years ago, 50, 100. And they've evolved since to these sleek devices on the right. You know, we've come from steel, which is super heavy, and wood, which is super splintery, to lighter materials like aluminum and titanium, and even carbon fiber. And power chairs have evolved significantly. You know, back when they were first invented, they were basically just a place to sit and move your body around. And they weren't terribly comfortable. They weren't terribly ergonomic. It was basically just get you around. But technology has improved. The industry has really responded to the needs of individuals in wheelchairs, and looking at the whole picture of the individual. We now have chairs with power seating where, you know, they can do pressure reliefs in order to maintain the health of their skin and their body, even to the point where you can now stand up in your chair or be at eye level and see the people around you at eye level, and reach things that you couldn't reach in the old wheelchairs of yesteryear. That's a good word. I'm looking. Telephones. I'm going to date myself a little bit, but I grew up with a rotary dial telephone, and that's not terribly, you know, accessible to people who may have range of motion, strength, or dexterity issues. So over time, technology has caught up and has really helped out. Not too long ago, we had Cero phone and other voice activated or integratable phones. Cell phone technology has been catching up. We had Bluetooth switches for cell phones 5, 10 years ago, and I mean still. But cell phone technology has improved to the point where you can simply use your voice to access and control your phone, or you can set up facial gestures as switches. You can even use your head on some platforms to, you know, make a mouse cursor move on the screen itself. I put this one up here just because we had a individual recently who had a desire to read and wanted to read paper books, and she just didn't have the dexterity or hand strength to turn paper books. And so we were looking for some solutions, and there really aren't any out there right now. There's the one on the right, which I don't even remember the name of it, but it's basically great for like turning sheet music if you're playing a piano, because it only goes up to like 7 pages, and who only reads 7 pages at a time in a book, especially if it's a good book. So it's a little bit of a shame that these devices don't exist anymore. There are some DIY solutions out there. We're hoping to make one just to try out and hopefully make that more accessible. But technology, again, has caught up. We have e-readers where people can read their electronic books on a little tablet with the click of a button, even audiobooks where they can be read out loud. I mentioned Bluetooth switches earlier. The Tekla Shield is probably one of the, well, oldest to me. I only started in AT, like I said, about 10 years ago, and that one was the oldest, aside from some Adaptive Switch Laboratories Bluetooth switches. And it had evolved a little bit. AbleNet had one, Tab Access had one, and like I mentioned, you can now make switch actions with just facial gestures on your phone. Another area of AT is the electronic aids to daily living or home access. And again, when I started out, we had like Quartet, Pilot. Quartet still exists, Pilot does not. Sage still exists. The Primo has kind of faded into the background, and into the foreground have come smart speakers. You got your Logitech Harmony, your Wemos, SwitchBots, etc., where you can access most all parts of your home through consumer or integrated technology from home automation companies. So that's just a brief history of AT. There's a wealth of resources around us. If you want to know more, ask your neighbor. So within the VA, assistive technology really got traction back in 2009 with some congressional funding. They set aside some dollars to really build out some big AT programs at 4 sites throughout the country. One was in Minneapolis, one was in Richmond, where a good number of us are from here, Palo Alto, California, and Tampa, Florida. And since then, more sites have popped up in San Antonio, Chicago, Milwaukee, a bunch of others. I apologize if I didn't name all of them. So our site specifically, we service, well, let me talk about our team first. So this was us back in 2016 when I started. And the program had actually been going for a good 5-6 years already. It started out with 2 rehab engineers and a rehab technician and an OT, Melissa Oliver, our supervisor. That's John Miller and Brian Burkhart. Not shown here is Ben Salatin. He was who I replaced. And then up till now, where we have 3 clinical rehab engineers, 2 occupational therapists, a clinical rehab technician, and we also have different specialties tasked to work with assistive technology. Specifically, I'm not sure you're talking about that. Anyways, speech, RT, OT, PT, KT. Well, actually, they're not detailed to us, but we work with them when they need us. So, so Vision 6 is the area of the country that we cover. We're kind of the mid-Atlantic, and we reach out. Our reach is out to Durham, North Carolina, Salisbury, Asheville, Beckley, and more. We actually do what's called interfacility consults. So VAs throughout the country, they just have to basically email our supervisor, Melissa. She'll tell them how to make an interfacility consult. They can put it into the patient recording system, and we'll get a consult on our printer that says, hey, reach out to this VA in Maine. They need some help with a beehive lifter. So we'll reach out to them and make a beehive lifter. So, or maybe it's something else like they need home automation or computer access.
So the areas of assistive technology, there's 8 of them that we cover in the VA. The first one, the wheel mobility and seating. We have wheel mobility and seating clinic, and our specialist is sitting in the audience right now, John Musa. He's he does all the assessments, makes the recommendations for anything mobility related. It could be custom manual wheelchairs up to very complex powered mobility. He does all of the training for it, and also serves as our subject matter expert for any other therapist in the facility. Right, next, driver's rehabilitation. So with driver's rehab, our kinesiotherapists, or KTs, they're only in the VA system. They're the equivalent of the exercise physiologists in the private sector. They're the ones that do the driver's training. They do driver simulation and on-road training. They may help make recommendations for vehicle modifications or modifications that are needed for driving. Next. So, assistive technology for cognition. This was formerly known as electronic cognitive devices, or ECDs. These are the tools that aid cognition, that help with memory, attention, and executive functioning. This is primarily our OTs and our speech therapists. So some of the examples that you see on the screen are medication systems or medication reminders. Those could be watches or reminders from your smartphone, or a reminder from, say, Alexa or Google. Next. So augmentative and alternative communication is another area, or AAC. These are primarily our speech folks. They can be tools as simplistic as just a board, like a written board with pictures, and then goes all the ways up to high-tech devices like Toby, Dynavox, or TextMe, speech text technologies. Some of the special applications can be used on the tablets or on any of the systems that they have available. Oops, sorry. All right. Flip. Next area is computer and mobile device access. That's a new name. It used to be adaptive computer access. This area refers to software and hardware services that enable the individuals with disabilities to access or interact with the computers or their mobile devices, improving functional capabilities. So some of the examples on the screen could be like adaptive keyboards or adaptive mice. They're on the screen, it shows the Kuha or the Glasshus. These are the gyroscopic wireless hands-free mice. All right, electronic aids to daily living. This particular slide looks really busy. Typically, when you think of EADLs, you're thinking home automation, smart homes, but from a VA OT standpoint, we kind of combine ADLs, the activities of daily living, the IADLs, instrumental activities of daily living, and EADLs. So some of the examples here could be any type of DME equipment. It could be wheelchair, adaptive walking devices, adaptive clothing, ramping, all the ways up to smart home technology. All right. Assistive sensory technologies. So these technologies are like for vision impaired or hearing impaired folks. Now, there are some components that, as from an AT standpoint, we will address, but we also have the audiologist in the VA, and we have the vision specialist known as the visors or BROs. Some of the examples of technologies that we might use might be the types of hearing aids. On the screen, it shows the walking stick, some of the vision aids, like the magnifiers. For the hearing, it could be the TDD machine. telecommunication, interpreters, and so forth. And lastly, we have adaptive sports and recreation. This is the fun stuff. Our recreation therapists primarily cover this area. However, there are different disciplines that step in and help. We have every type of adaptive sporting equipment that you could think of. Adaptive trikes, hunting and fishing, like all-terrain chairs. Adaptive, help me out.
Esports.
Yeah, tennis chairs, basketball chairs, rugby
Yeah.
chairs, you name it. they do it.
Bowling,
Bowling, adaptive bowling,
pickleball, you name it.
pickleball.
Last but not least.
Yeah.
So we've talked about the different areas in AT. Now we're going to talk about the different kinds of teams that might make up your facility and how assistive technology fits into your rehab team. So you might have an interdisciplinary team, a multidisciplinary team, transdisciplinary, unidisciplinary, or interdisciplinary. Honestly, I didn't know what most of these meant until like yesterday. But so interdisciplinary, basically you have a higher amount of communication between team members that are treating the patient. Multidisciplinary, you simply have a lot of different people from different disciplines working with the same patient, not necessarily communicating with each other. Transdisciplinary, you're kind of crossing lanes into other therapies, and maybe I dabble a little bit in OT or orthotics or whatever. And unidisciplinary or interdisciplinary is more, as we call it in the VA, staying in your lane and just doing what you've been asked to do. So when we're working with patients with neurological conditions, oftentimes it can be a little bit overwhelming, the needs that they want to overcome, and we want them to help them overcome. So it's important to stay focused on the patient's the client's goals and needs. But I guess what we want to do right now is we want to kind of take a poll in the room here of what types of practice you feel like your facility falls into. Are you, and we can do this by a show of hands, are you an individual provider that, this is very poorly worded.
Complete.
Do you complete evaluations by yourself? Okay, we got two handfuls. Do you operate on a team in separate appointments? Okay. Do you complete evaluations as a team? Okay, not bad. And lastly, what challenges do you face? Anybody want to throw it out there? Nobody likes airing their dirty laundry. All right, we'll do it. We'll do it in a minute. Okay. So there is value in an interdisciplinary team care approach. This is a quote from Rajiv Singh and colleagues. I won't pronounce their names because I can't. Grounded in group behavior theory, teamworking demonstrates that joint aims, trust, and willingness to share knowledge can improve client outcomes, including mortality. So basically, interdisciplinary care reduces costs, but it also improves patient outcomes and quality of life. All right, so I'm going to share a little story here. Hopefully it's not terribly boring, and hopefully it's more interesting than the slides. So not too long ago in our VA in Richmond, we had a patient who had a neurological disorder, I believe it was ALS, and was being seen by multiple disciplines in our hospital. Occupational therapy was focused on making sure the individual had access to their environment, to activities of daily living, whether that was eating, getting in and out of the home, turning the television on and off, and things like that. And PT was focused on making sure they could get themselves around in the home and in and out of the community, making sure they could drive their power wheelchair. And we also had speech, who was concerned about the long-term outlook for this veterans' communication ability. And what was happening is that each discipline was kind of focused on what they were trained to do. And we almost ended up with 3 different pieces of technology on the same wheelchair that could have been combined into one. And so like OT, yeah, I want to give you access to your environment. Let's get you this specific tablet that you can access your lights, your door, your phone, and your TV. And speech is like, okay, I've got this communication device that's perfect for you, and it's on this tablet, and it's going to track your eyes so that when it hopefully doesn't, but when you lose body function and you just have your eyes, you'll be able to communicate with your environment and your family and caregivers. And PT's thinking about power wheelchair drive control, and they might start out with something simple, but they're thinking, okay, you're gonna maybe need a head array, and maybe down the road even need to drive your wheelchair with your eyes. And there's this great new technology called Ability Drive, where you can drive your wheelchair with your eyes, and we're going to get you this tablet that does that. So like I said, we could have ended up with 3 tablets mounted on this chair, and that would have been awful, not only for the user, but for everybody. Payers would have been a little bit upset too. So fortunately, things have changed a little bit. So anyways, this highlights the need for clear roles and responsibilities, the need for communication. If these 3 people had communicated a little bit earlier, we probably could have made it a quicker funneling into the final product. And looking at the patient, like, does a patient really want to have 3 devices mounted to their power chair? Probably not. It's going to be cumbersome to set up. It's going to be really hard to learn all 3 devices. So this kind of helps us give some motivation to have a comprehensive assessment. So these are different areas that we're likely to need assessment for. How are we going to split this up? And how are we going to determine which methods are the most effective using evidence-based practices? And the last thing, at least on this slide, is to have a little crossover. Talk with your different team members. Tell them what you have expertise in. Maybe do in-service where you can show them how a communication device can be a environmental control device and a power wheelchair drive control. So lastly, as we're establishing this team, we want to ensure that access to technology and resource is shared. So if John Musa has an ability drive in his clinic, we want to make sure that OT and PT and our outpatient teams and inpatient teams are aware that he has that so that they can use it as needed. Of course, we're going to have follow-up in the future. In our VA, we have annual follow-ups with patients that are at high risk, so especially our neurological disorders. We want to take into account the demographic and where these patients are coming from. So within the VA, that it's stressed that we understand military culture and where these folks have been, not only in their service to our country, but where they're at with the progression of their disease and the challenges they're facing with their family and caregivers. So, oh shoot. So is anybody out here using outcome measures? Raise your hands if you are. And then if you feel really bold, tell us what outcome measures you're using, because we would love to know so we can use them too. Anybody? COPM, what does that stand for? Okay. Awesome. Is that something that's available to open source? Okay, cool. Anybody else? Don't be shy. I'm sure everybody's using outcomes measures and they just don't want to tell us. Okay.
Thank you.
And we use Quest at our facility. We also use satisfaction surveys as outcome measures. Thanks. All right, so when we consider our roles in an interdisciplinary team, every team member has a unique perspective. And these teams are going to vary depending on what facility you're in. Everybody likes to say each VA is different. But that's the same for healthcare facilities throughout the nation. Like you might have a different parent company here and different one there. Even same parent company, but different demographic and a different group of clinicians available to your team. You might not have rec therapy in your facility. You might not have a speech language pathologist or a full-time occupational therapist. How can you meet the needs of your patient holistically and try to bridge those gaps with what you have? So you're going to need to look at a bunch of different things. You can read the slide. So what services can you provide? Where can you provide the services? How are your clients, your patients, your veterans going to gain access to those services? And when are they appropriate? What devices should be provided, whether that's low-tech or high-tech assistive technology or durable medical equipment. So once you have your team established, you know who's available in your network, and you know what tools you have and technology, you need to kind of really network to get that group to work together. So I mentioned earlier in services. Take some time to do a little liaison effort to your therapy brothers and sisters. So at the Richmond VA, we have a bunch of different clinics that we do, and these are interdisciplinary clinics. I'm not going to read each one to you, but I gave you that story earlier where things almost could have gone the wrong way. And recently, our hospital has taken, or our program, I should say, the assistive technology program. We were the ones that were able to point out to these clinicians that, hey, we could do this all on one device. And so due to largely our occupational and physical therapy colleagues' encouragement, we have begun participating in the interdisciplinary team conferences and trying to get in there early with these patients to assess them for their assistive technology needs and have a more cohesive plan with the group as far as to how those goals are going to be reached.
All right. So we've talked about what AT is, the different areas of assistive technology, and how to establish a team. Now we're going to do the evaluation. So what does the evaluation look like? Well, at the VA, essentially, a consult is generated from the doctor, the physician assistant, or nurse practitioner. We receive the consult, we do a chart review. We will ask for additional consults for other providers if we deem it's necessary. We coordinate with our vendors, and then we schedule patients for the evaluation. In AT, we use the HAP model, the Human Activity Assistant Technology model.
We should call it the top hat model. I was like, what? I don't even remember what the hat model is. So like, it's basically holistic. And Alicia was telling me that she uses what she learned in school. Was it Moho or something?
Moho, yes, for
Which is-
you OTs out there that I'm dating myself too, but okay. Yeah,
It's
holistic
holistic.
approach.
So like, the hat model is looking at the whole picture. Top hat. I like it.
So for the human, so the physical, cognitive, emotional, novice, expert. This is the raw material where we learn about the patient that we're working with. This component considers the individual's physical, cognitive, emotional, sensory abilities, as well as their life roles, technology, expertise, motivation, and lifespan considerations. Activity. Where and what are the patient's challenges? What are the challenges for leisure? What are their interests? This component focuses on the task demands, and the contextual influences of the participation in life situations. And then the assistive technology itself. What technology do they currently have? What's available to help overcome challenges, maybe something more complex than what they currently are using. This particular area encompasses the devices, services, and practices that enable the activity being performed to be easier to use. And we have this slide because if you're ever having to do your documentation, you know, SMART goals are super important. So as a team, we sort of work together to come up with what our SMART goals are. And SMART, it stands for the S, is specific. What goal does the patient want to work on? You have to be specific about that. The M is for measurable. So we have to define what is measurable. A is for attainable. Are they going to be able to attain the goals that they want? Are they realistic? R for relevant, verify your goals. And then time-based is T.
So as opposed to dumb goals, which is what I normally do. So don't do dumb goals.
All right. So now we're just going to look at the bigger picture and review a couple of case studies.
Okay, so case study number 1. Middle-aged gentleman with MS, some loss of function in his upper extremities, especially hand function, has minimal trunk control, pretty good cognition, but sometimes forgets his appointments, and really can't walk or transfer independently. He's got periodic spasms in his lower extremities. So his current technology, he has a smartphone, Android, Windows Surface tablet, and he's been prescribed and is trialing a Permobil F5 power wheelchair. He's a business owner, and he has caregivers that come to his home daily, but otherwise he lives alone and he loves to go fishing. So this is our background. How are we going to evaluate, assess, and treat him in a multidisciplinary way? Sorry, interdisciplinary way. So the team members that worked with this individual included clinical rehabilitation engineering, occupational therapists, speech language pathology, and the adaptive sports team. Things that were focused on were EADLs, electronic aids to daily living, adaptive sports for his goal of participating in fishing, alternative access to his phone, his computer, and his environment. And yep, I already mentioned that. And mounting. So a lot of times we're trying to get the technology to the user. So that involves positioning it. And positioning usually requires hardware to keep it where you put it. So some of the challenges that we faced were that he had a Bluetooth headset, but it wasn't something that he could use. It was something that he had from before his accident. He couldn't reach over and tap the button that made it go to speak or change the volume or hang up, etc. And he was not able to use or access his email on his phone anymore because of the loss of function in his hands. Again, he couldn't type very well. Hands certainly would not do individual typing. And again, having trouble remembering appointments. I think I would too. There's so many appointments after an injury. So his goals are to be able to call his family and friends, let caregivers into the home in the morning, and navigate his computer for his business and be able to remember his appointments. So here's a few examples of some SMART goals that we came up with to help meet those goals. I'll go through a couple of them. The veteran will demonstrate the ability to utilize head tracking systems, for example, the Kuhazono or Glasshouse or any number of head tracking systems to make 2 phone calls independently by the end of session. So it's specific. He's going to be able to make 2 phone calls by himself. It's within a time frame, the end of session. It's measurable, so 2. It's, help me out here,
Relevant.
relevant. It aligns with their, what does A stand for? I hate SMART. What? Attainable, thank you. Something that's doable within a session, and it's realistic. The veteran will utilize, well, that's not worded well. Demonstrate the ability to open an application on his phone independently 3 times in order to unlock the front door to his home remotely by end of session. So this probably would not be within a session. You might want to extend that to multiple sessions. But nonetheless, it is specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, all right, and timely. I'm not, Brittany was supposed to be here to teach us how to do SMART goals. In fact, she taught us SMART goals before we came here, and I still struggle. Case study number 2.
You do it.
Oh,
Go ahead.
okay. This individual also, we're going to say he's a young man, 49-year-old male veteran with ALS. So at the early stages of his disease, he still has some bilateral upper extremity strength and range of motion. He's starting out, he's able to use a standard power chair. But as it progresses, he's losing function. Just he doesn't have individual finger control. He's got good cognition. His speech is getting weaker, and he's basically paralyzed from the waist down. So his current technology, also Android smartphone, awesome. Home environmental controls. He set these up himself. I'm sorry, that wasn't nice to iPhone users. A lot of my colleagues are iPhone users, and they're my friends. Yes. So he was also trialing a front wheel drive power chair. He had self-purchased an Xbox adaptive controller and some adaptive joysticks and buttons from Warfighter Engaged. And he had a custom call bell setup that we had provided for him. He lived on his own hobby farm. He used to work in IT. He lives with his spouse, but he does have caregivers coming into the home. Also loves fishing, video games with friends. So who's going to be on this team? As many people as we can get. So rehab engineering, occupational therapy, PT, SLP, RT, and the adaptive sports team. We're going to try to help him out with his EADLs, adaptive sports, his fishing and esports, computer access, and smartphone access. He's playing games on the computer with his friends, and he also wants to still be able to communicate with friends and family. So some of the challenges with him is that his hand function was declining quickly. He wasn't able to use the Xbox adaptive controller and joysticks pretty quickly after we, in assistive technology, started working with him. He was being evaluated for a communication device that wasn't initially compatible with Ability Drive, and it was a little frustrating. It did end up becoming compatible, but it was at the early ages or the early stages of integration with that particular company's device. So his goals are, I want to play Hearts with my friends online, play some card games. I want to let caregivers into the house by myself so I don't have to bug my wife. I want to be able to drive my wheelchair. And I also want to be able to move my communication device out of the way if I just want to look at my family member and communicate non-verbally or with lip reading. Sometimes those devices can create a bit of a barrier. And that was his goal. But he also wanted to be able to use his communication device throughout the progression of his disease. So we started out with some alternative drive. With the standard drive control, and then quickly had to transition to a microlight joystick that was mounted midline and at lap level. So that required some creative tray mounting. And eventually he did transition to using the Ability Drive. Yeah. Mhm.
So with the ALS client, obviously, terminal progressive diagnosis. In my practice, why would you go to that midline drive instead of actually just going to chin drive or lip drive using the same device?
Patient
Because I've been
preference.
following him through his entire journey.
Yeah, so
Patient preference at the time.
And what was his thoughts about having it here versus in the middle?
I think he was opposed to it, and that's why we went with the lap tray.
Denial.
Yeah. He didn't want to have something in his face. Yeah. This is a great question and great point. Yeah, and I mean, we are fortunate in the VA where we can provide a lot of this stuff stepwise, and we have the infrastructure, we have experts in wheel mobility, we have experts in alternative drive and engineers to help put it all together pretty quickly and transition it fairly quickly.
Yeah, I'd love to be out better myself, but in the real world, I'm not saying the VA is not.
Yeah.
But in the real world,
It's not.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, and what you proposed would be a great long-term solution. Yeah. Thank you for that comment. Yeah, if there's any questions, we apologize. We would love to hear them. If you have them, just raise your hand or shout out. So the communication device that was selected by speech was the ION Elite device with Grid 3. And I shouldn't say by speech, it was the veteran in conjunction with his care team selected this device. And a big part of it was that it was promised to be compatible with the Ability Drive, and I'm fairly certain it is now. At the time, like I said, it was just barely new, and it was a challenge. But he was able, it was largely the veteran's efforts. He was in IT, he knew how to work around customer service and stuff and get it to work. And he did. And he did the same with his esports access methods as well. So to meet his goal of getting this device out of his face as needed, we were able to set him up with the Mountain Mover power shoulder mount, which click of a button moved it out of the way. Then he could have that uninterrupted interaction with family members. So he was super happy with this outcome. Was able to drive his chair, communicate, and still maintain that intimacy with friends and family. So I mentioned initially he had the Xbox adaptive controller and some like goalpost joysticks and some breakout buttons. Quickly lost function there. We were able to fabricate this this setup here. So I say quickly because for anybody that's used the quad stick, it's kind of intimidating. It's not only intimidating to set up, but it's also intimidating for the users to learn how to use it. And so we wanted something quick. You know, disease is progressing quickly, and by quick, this still took 2-3 weeks to get to him. But basically, we had 4 switches, actually 8. With the middle joystick is actually a D-pad, and the 2 side switches are each sip and puff. So he had 8 switches and this is so he's willing to game with this setup, but not drive his chair with it. So I don't know. Yeah. So I wasn't there for like everything. I was there for this part, but not the driving control. So I don't know the whole story. We did eventually transition to the quad stick, but in the interim, we're able to provide that other solution. And in the end, he was able to play with his friends online, which we were happy about and he was happy about. So do you want to do the goals on this one? Help me out with the acronym, okay?
Okay.
Specific. The veteran will utilize adaptive driving controls independently operating his power chair. So that's pretty specific. And he's going to do that by demonstrating his ability to navigate within the treatment space. That's the measurable part. What's A again?
Attainable.
Attainable. That's doable within a treatment session. And relevant. And timely by the end of session. Got it. And he will demonstrate the ability to use adaptive switches to play at least 1 game for 2 minutes independently by end of session. Again, you might time that out 2 or 3 sessions, but you have a time frame. It's measurable. It's realistic. It's attainable, relevant. Now, Alicia's gonna recap us on this.
So, okay, so just for recap, 3 key features of the establishing an effective interdisciplinary team. Stakeholders are identified, needs established, the services your team will provide are determined, collaborative communication. This is the top hat, describe the evaluation process for an interdisciplinary team approach utilizing various AT devices and tools applications. And then finally, the SMART goals, develop client-centered SMART goals encompassing the use of AT to maximize functional levels and abilities.